Hi everyone, welcome to this week's episode of How to HR. I'm Kristy-Lee, your host, and welcome to episode number 22 of How to HR. I hope you're well and having a great week. On this week's episode, I'm bringing you an update, a bit of a technical update, a bit of a legislative update that was announced yesterday by the Fair Work Commission, and this relates to the national minimum wage and the annual review that the Fair Work Commission conducts each and every year. Now, those of you who are not familiar with this, each and every year the Fair Work Commission sits down to go through a process of reviewing the national minimum wage. Now, the national minimum wage is the minimum that any employee in Australia should be paid, unless they're a junior or an apprentice or something like that, and it forms the basis for the minimum employment conditions. Now, as part of this process every year, of course, the Fair Work Commission is seeking input from people like industry bodies, business associations, unions. A whole range of people will submit evidence to the Commission in relation to what they feel is appropriate for a national wage review decision. So what happens every year is that on the 1st of July, all of the rates increase. So this is the national minimum wage as well as all of the award minimum wages. Now, for the first time ever last year in 2020, we saw a change to this structure because, of course, of COVID. With many businesses unable to operate or at reduced capacity, a huge wage increase, or any wage increase, in fact, was just not viable for businesses to handle. So last year we saw a change, not only in that the rate increase was quite low, but also in a staggered rollout of the increase amongst the modern awards. So the awards which were the employees and employers covered by awards which were most impacted by COVID, think aviation, tourism, to an extent retail, certainly hospitality, plus others, their awards didn't increase in July. It was staggered out. So there was some in July, some in November, and then the last group were increased in February of this year. Now, that was very unusual, and the Fair Work Commission can only make those decisions when there are extraordinary circumstances, like a global pandemic. So this year we have been waiting to see what's going to happen with the national wage review process, because some of you have just had your awards increased in February, so you're not really keen for another increase straight away, but we knew that the Commission would have to make their decision ahead of 1 July, which is always the deadline for the national minimum wage increase. And yesterday they handed down this decision. So the decision has been that the Fair Work Commission is increasing the national minimum wage by 2.5%, effective on the 1st of July 2021. Now, that's not unusual. We expected an increase and we expected it to be effective from the 1st of July. So we did anticipate this. 2.5% is not insignificant. It is certainly larger than last year's increase, but we have previously seen more hefty increases on the annual review process, upwards of 3%. So 2.5 is not, it's not to be sniffed at if you've got national minimum wage employees. It is a decent increase. Now, in coming to this decision, the Fair Work Commission has, cited a few different things that have impacted on their decision-making. The first of which is, of course, we are also having a superannuation increase on the 1st of July of 0.5%. So all compulsory superannuation contributions, the SGC, will be going up from 9.5% to 10% on the 1st of July. So that's an increase employers are already having to wear on top of this minimum wage increase as well. The Commission also cited other things like the speedy economic recovery out of COVID, which has been stronger than most anticipated, which is a great thing, although for many businesses it is still really difficult, particularly if you're in Melbourne. You've had a really tough time in and out of lockdowns, in and out of restrictions, very difficult on business down there. And of course, some industries, aviation being one of the most prominent, are still not operational by and large, certainly internationally. So there's been the stronger than expected economic recovery. Also, though, the delayed rollout of vaccination has impacted the Commission's decision. So possibly they were thinking of something higher, but the vaccination rates aren't where we need them to be able to open up fully. So that's impacted things, as well as I mentioned superannuation. So what this means for you, if you employ employees who are paid award rates of pay, this is going to be important for you. Or if you have staff who are not award covered and are on the national minimum wage, also important for you, but I think that's very, very few of you. Now, when it comes to modern awards, the Fair Work Commission has again decided to roll out this increase in a staggered approach. However, it's much more tightly bound than last year's staggered approach. So almost all modern awards, close to 100 probably, will increase by 2.5% on the 1st of July. Almost all of the modern awards will increase on the 1st of July. Even if you've just had an increase in February or November last year, you are increasing again by 2.5% on the 1st of July. Some awards are being held back though. Specifically, the General Retail Industry Award, so anyone covered by that award, the 2.5% increase will not hit you until the 1st of September this year, so a couple of extra months for you. And as well, we have a group of about 22 awards who won't increase until the 1st of November. Now, these are awards who have, of course, been hardest impacted by the COVID restrictions. So I won't read them all out, but largely we're talking about awards in the aviation and travel space, alpine resorts, so the tourism industry, generally, hospitality, hair and beauty, fitness, sporting organisations, restaurants. So awards in and around those spaces, and there is a list of 22 of them, will not be increased by the 2.5% until November of this year. So every modern award will increase by 2.5%. It's just the timing of that increase, which will be different depending on what award you are operating under. Now, for some of you, that is going to mean, because you've got multiple awards in your business, that you've got some people increasing by 2.5% in July, others in November. Really nothing you can do about that. You have to follow what the award stipulates. So it's not a lot of notice, I guess, is the other thing for many of you. We are, just past mid-June, so we've got 2 weeks effectively to get this change underway. So it may mean updating your payroll systems. It may mean, for example, if you've got employees who are award covered, but you pay them a salary or a higher hourly rate of pay, and you have that tied into an individual flexibility agreement or an annualised wage agreement, those agreements are required to meet what we call a better off overall test, which means the employee is better off under the conditions of your engagement than they would be under the award conditions. Now, quite often these agreements are fairly technical and loaded with different things. So quite often we'll see a flexibility agreement that includes, that will say the hourly rate or the salary includes annual leave loading. It might include some component of different loading, so they don't get paid Saturday loading, for example, because they're being paid this higher hourly rate, or perhaps there's even some overtime built into this higher hourly rate. So all of those things, there is a calculation process you must go through when you put those in place to ensure that the employee is better off overall. You'll be quite surprised how easy it is for them to slip below award conditions by the time you load in things like leave loading and overtime and other bits and pieces. So if you've got employees who are award covered and who have IFAs or AWAs in place in order to make the better off overall test, this is a time you need to go back and check those agreements, because with increases like this, it's very easy to slip below the requirements of the award. And the risk you have there is you leave yourself open and exposed to an underpayment claim. No one wants to be dealing with one of those, even if it's, a tiny amount. It's just a process you don't want to be going through. And certainly when you haven't realised that you're underpaying, if you've got 20 staff in your business, it can easily add up to something quite significant for a small business to have to back pay. So if you've got those agreements in place, or if you haven't and you should, please take a look at those before 1st of July if you are covered by awards which are affected from that day. So just to recap, the Fair Work Commission announced yesterday that the national minimum wage would increase by 2.5% effective 1st of July 2021, and that most modern awards would see their minimum rates of pay increase by the same amount on the same date. The exceptions to this ruling have been the General Retail Award. That award increases by 2.5% on the 1st of September 2021. And there's a group of about 20 odd awards sitting roughly within the aviation, tourism, hair and beauty, fitness, events space that will not see the increase impact them until the 1st of November. Now, what I will do is put a link here to the Fair Work website if you want to have a look at which what date it applies to you. But for most of you, it's 1 July. But just head over to fairwork.gov.au if you're unsure. You'll be right there on the front page, be able to click through and get that list, and make sure you've updated all of your IFAs and AWAs as part of this process. Don't forget as well, you will have the superannuation increase effective 1st of July. So make sure you've got your systems updated and you've got that all happening at your end as well. Super is going from 9.5 to 10% for those compulsory superannuation payments. Now that's a wrap for this week's How to HR. Just wanted to bring you that technical update given the timing of the Fair Work Commission's announcement yesterday. If you have questions about this increase, whether it applies to you, what you need to do about it, please just pop your questions below this video and I will pop in and answer them for you. I want to help you make sure you're compliant and up to date. So if I can answer any questions, I'm absolutely more than happy to do that. Thanks so much for joining me here on this week's How to HR. I'll be back again next week for episode number 23, and I can't wait to speak to you then. Have a great week.